Welcome to Association Edge, brought to you by Kelly Dando Consulting. Here we share practical advice, smart strategies, and proven tips for leading boards, managing associations, and growing stronger organizations. Whether you're a board member, a volunteer, or an association professional, you'll find insights to help you lead with confidence and make an impact. This is your edge in association management. Let's get started.
Welcome to episode 2 of Team Talk Tuesday. We are excited to discuss the things we're going to talk about today. Today's topic is why some chapters thrive and some fail, and what we can do to set a chapter up for success, and you as a leader, what you can do to help your association. So there is lots on this topic, guys. We have lots that we can talk about. We have chapters that have the same tools. So they're given the same resources. They're given our team. They have the same support from national, and some are successful and some are not. Why? What are your thoughts? Emily?
I'm gonna let Emily kick this off.
Okay. The first thing that comes to mind when I hear that is communication. I think communication with the chapter is absolutely key. Communication coming from leadership amongst the members, making sure people are informed of what's going on. That's how you're going to get people engaged and how you'll develop a thriving chapter too.
So do you mean communication externally with members, or do you mean internally with the board? What kind of communication? And how does that look? What makes that good?
Yeah, good question. I would definitely say both, but I was thinking starting with leadership, them having good communication amongst each other, good communication with the admin, so that that information can be disseminated to the membership so that they're always informed.
Yeah, my favorite is when we're sitting in on a call and somebody mentions something that we've never heard before. And sometimes it's a great initiative, and other times it's like, whoa, wait a minute. We're doing this now and nobody told us, and we're actually in charge of implementing it. So I think that's key. Jamie, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I am going to piggyback off of what Emily said. And I think in addition to communication, there needs to be consistency. So I think, you have to set these standards that you and the leadership team all follow, but then you have to keep it going. And I think, some of our chapters have a harder time with that than others. Makes me think about like the too many cooks in the kitchen euphemism, but I honestly don't mind. If I would rather be over communicated with than under communicated with. So I imagine their members are kind of the same, right? Like we can't just send out one email or one post or whatever and expect the world. We have to, kind of train them and be consistent with what we're doing to see the results we want to see.
Yeah. And we've talked about also the board magic sauce. We talked about that in our last podcast about what makes a great board and how it's when you get one, it's just absolutely magic. And so I think a lot of it is the key to these successful groups versus not successful. It really comes down to the board and the membership that they're recruiting too, because as you all know, we can have boards where we see the same people over and over and over, and they can't get volunteers and they can't figure out why. And Emily and I sat on a call recently where we had explained to someone, why would someone want to join your board when they think they have to serve on it for 15 years? It's not only kind of refreshing your ideas, but it's also showing people that, hey, you can serve 2 years. There are all kinds of roles you can play in associations. What do you all think about that?
You can serve for the rest of your life.
I feel like that is how a lot of our boards are, right? And I think that the volunteers don't even want to do it. I think that sometimes they're kind of forced into it.
I think so. I think so too. I think it goes back to the magic sauce of what you're saying. It's like, it's nice when you see a board who actually, this is a volunteer group that they're a part of. You want to be a part of it if it feels good and you enjoy doing it. So I do think, there are a lot of people who like being a part of it, but might not want to be in that leadership role forever and ever. Amen. This is making me think though. So one of the organizations that we all work with is having board nominations coming up. So one of our clients said, can you send out something for board nominations? So it's just a simple, like, send us an email of a name. You can nominate yourself, whatever. But nowhere in that email was there direction to say what the terms are. So these people are getting this and they're like, am I going to be on this board forever?
Yeah.
Who knows?
How many hours a week is it? I think
Yeah,
setting
Yeah.
expectations too for what that
totally.
entails.
But this
Yeah. And
all goes
letting
back
them,
to the communication
yeah,
piece. Like,
Yeah.
letting them
people are just
know.
assuming.
Right. Do we meet in person? Am I going to get to see you at lunchtime, or am I going to have to miss my kid's soccer game for this? Is this going to be 12 hours a month, or is this going to be an hour a month? A lot of our boards don't communicate that very well.
And I
Yeah.
think, this is all coming to me in real time, so my wheels are turning here. I'm like, well, the board nominations are closing earlier this week. How can I make sure that these people are aware that they're not signing up for a lifetime of service? Going forward, that'll be something that I include.
So, how do you think, who sets the magic on the board in terms of enthusiasm? Do you think that that's the responsibility of the president, or do you think that's the different personalities on the board?
I think it can be anyone on the board who
Yeah.
has the enthusiasm. The cheerleader, we'll call them the cheerleader for the group. So there's the cheerleader, the good communicator. They can be the same. I don't care. But then you also have to have the people who are, the ones that are making sure things are getting done correctly and on time. So the
Execute.
consistency
Yeah.
folks.
Someone who's going to execute,
Mhm.
follow through.
Yes.
And sometimes those are different roles.
Yeah.
Do you all think that the different dynamics of the board, so for example, the board that's a micromanager and does all the details versus the strategic board, plays a role in a chapter or an association's success? Have you seen a micromanaging board that's done really well versus a board that really just says, hey, here's our strategic plan, go and run? What are your thoughts on the two different types of boards?
I think they can both be successful. I just think it's how you get there that's different. The micromanaged board, I think we put a lot of negative terminology on micromanaging. I wouldn't even necessarily call it micromanaging. It's just they're particular, right? They like things a
About
certain
the
way.
details.
Right.
The
Yeah.
detail, yeah, a detail oriented board versus, we trust you completely to do whatever. I think we can both end up in the same place. It's just, the different roads of how we get there. One's way more fun than the other. I'm not going to tell you
Yeah.
which one I prefer, but
From our perspective,
Yeah. What about
um,
you, Kelly? What do you think of those two?
so it's so interesting because there are times when I really like the micromanaging board because it's always clear, right? We always
mhm.
know what we want to expect from, or what we need to expect from the board. We know where they want to go. I do think that the strategic board gives us more opportunities for ideas because I think
Mhm.
creating fresh ideas is the key, right? It's the same as a board member that's been on the board a long time. We have some boards that are like, but this is the way we've always done it. And I think that's a really dangerous situation to get in, even if you're the top of your game, right? So, and we have some associations that are number one in their overarching association and some that are, the very bottom. And I don't mean by quality, I just mean number of members. And I think that you can be at the top of your game, and after 3 years of the same leadership and not doing anything new, now you're stale again, right? It's this vicious
Mhm.
cycle we've talked about. So I think that there's such an important role for fresh ideas and new people on the board, which brings us to committee structures. I mean, we have a couple of associations that don't have the people because they're so small to do committees. How do you all feel about how committees play in the success of a group versus a group that is not successful?
I love committees that don't have board members as their chairs.
Yeah.
I think that is so great. I mean, I think the board members can be on the committee, but I don't think it's the board members' role to run that. I think that is one of my more successful chapters that I see that really happening is what they're doing, whether it's intentional or not, is building that leadership pipeline, which
Yeah,
is
the
so
pipeline.
important. And bringing in those folks will diversify your current boards. I think the committees are huge. I don't think I personally would want to join a board that didn't have structured committees for the objectives.
Interesting. Is
Yeah.
that because you feel like it would be more work?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Period.
Less direction. Well, plus you have less direction, I think, too, which
Yeah.
can make it tough.
So it's interesting because I had always said I didn't want any sort of board member on the committee, but I also have kind of retracted that view because I've had a committee at one association that had these great ideas. They started implementing it, and the board was like, wait a minute, that doesn't really fit under our plan that we had for this group or, whatever our strategic thoughts were. And I have had to go back to that committee, which is the worst thing ever, and put a halt on plans because the board didn't like those plans. So I do appreciate when a board member is willing to every once in a while sit in on a committee, or if we have like something big that has to happen at the committee level that is going to affect the board. I do appreciate when there is that insight so that
Definitely.
the direction is followed. But, a lot of times too, we've had issues where it's just the president says, I don't like this idea. And for me, that's a hard pill to swallow because the committees really should be where all the work happens, right? It
Right.
shouldn't be the board controlling the committees to an extent. I mean, we're all following the same plan, but it's an interesting conundrum to have.
Definitely. I think this brings up a point too, thinking about our roles in all of this. What do you see in admin for these clients? What role do we play in this? Sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm overstepping. Like I'm throwing way too much at them. But I would rather do that and them shoot down my ideas than not share at all.
Yeah.
So Kelly, I would like to
Yeah.
hear your feedback on that.
I think it depends on the board. I mean, Emily, what
I
are your
think so
thoughts? So
too.
I think we have boards that are really open and they want to know what we're doing with other clients. And then we have some boards that are like, I don't really care what you're doing at other clients. I care about how I'm going to get here as a board. What do you
I
think,
was
Emily?
just gonna say, I do think they rely on us for, okay, well, what are other boards doing or other chapters doing? Which is why our company is so great because we have so many different clients. Kelly sat in on a call for me the other day on a board call, and she's like, I really think they just want you to run with it. And it's like they're a newer chapter and they kind of just want to see, like, okay, what can you guys do to help us out? We're just getting started. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I do think you kind of, and experience brings that kind of getting a feel for what they're looking for. But I agree, Jamie, I'd rather have someone shoot down the ideas and at least I threw it out there than not say anything
Right.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think we know, Jamie, right? Until you run with it and you're shot down, you don't really know. Sometimes when we bring on new clients, it's just getting to know the board, right? Getting to know their
Right.
personalities. And for us, that's the challenging part of our job is it changes. It's supposed to change at least every 1 to 2 years. And so you really get to know people and you're like, man, I really like this leader. They're really dynamic. We've done great things. And then you have someone else come in and it's learning that whole process again, which is so challenging.
I think, to be able to do what we do and to do it successfully, your emotional IQ has to be
very
really
high.
high. Like you have to know how to pivot from, someone who is really rigid to someone who's just here for a good time and everywhere in between.
And change your
So
communication style. Like you have
totally.
to change
Yeah.
your communication style
Yeah.
based on theirs.
Does this make us like a tiny bit psycho? I don't know. I think we all do it well.
I don't think so. I think we're very intelligent.
Well, it makes you wonder too if you're a board president, right? And you're having to come in because the board presidents experience this. They have different personalities on the board, and every board president who comes in wants to be the best, right? There's no
Yeah.
board
They
president that
want to
comes
have a
in-
legacy.
Right.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
want to leave something better than they found it, which is an amazing way to get a volunteer into a group. But at the same time, they're having to shift as well. So some of our talent and what we can do is how can we help you learn to manage this, particularly if we have newer, younger board members that have just been on the board, for a hot 5 minutes, explaining to them kind of how we can help assist that. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I do think that enthusiasm is contagious, right?
Yes.
So when we get new, younger, fresh blood on the board, I haven't ever been in a situation where it's like a fun killer new to a board. Have y'all? I feel like every new board member has exciting ideas.
I honestly haven't dealt with many fun killers lately. I've had them in the past.
I can't think of any that.
I've had some in the past, and they were the poo-pooer of ideas, the ones that were always like, this is how we've done it, and this is how we will always do it until I
Yes,
am no
those
longer
are-
on this board.
Right.
So,
Those are
yeah, I
never new
think-
people.
I don't think they have to be younger necessarily to have that enthusiasm in those ideas,
true.
but we just happen to see that more often than not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So-
very true.
We should add master communicators to the
Yeah.
website.
Any other topics we want to talk about? The good versus even the great or the not great with the same resources. I mean, it's so interesting because for the most part, technology is very similar across our clients, right? So there's the technology and how we operate is very similar. The one thing we don't have control over are the boards, obviously, right? Who's on the
Yeah.
board, how that looks. But we can advise, what other things
What's
do you all think about?
Yeah, what would you say is your all's advice for smaller boards who are running into the problem of not being able to find an incoming pipeline of volunteers? What's your go-to solutions for that, or what would you try?
That is a great question, Emily.
I feel like we've tried sending out emails to try to
Mhm.
gain interest, which never works.
It's the
Recruiting new,
direct I just had someone on our board call yesterday say that direct invitation is what got
Yeah.
her on the board. You feel the pressure.
yeah,
Sometimes it's, your client that's asking you, "Oh, would you like to join my board?" You kind of have no choice. And sometimes those people end up being the best board members. They maybe
Mhm.
were enthusiastic at the beginning, but they still have a lot to contribute. And I think the board, grows on them and the role can grow too.
yeah, they have buy-in, right? And then the mentoring part of it, I think, is really important. So as we get new members, how do we mentor them onto the board so
Yeah,
that
the new members, that's a good.
right, so you're not just throwing them into the fire
Mhm.
and saying, "Hey, this is how we do things." And also I feel like, and tell me how you all see this, because we sit in on a lot of board meetings.
Mm.
It takes some time for a new board member to get acclimated. I feel as if it's the same trend for all of them. They come in, they're just kind of quiet, typically
Yeah.
the first meeting or two, just feeling things out. And then once they're comfortable, we really start to hear from them. And that process can take anywhere from one meeting to 5 meetings. Although we have had some new board members when they know the group really well, where it's like, wow, that person is really, they've gotten in here and they're off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree, Emily. After I had my little lapse of having a thought on how to answer that, it is the direct invitations, right? Like, I
Yeah.
think very
Sure.
successful boards talk about this at every board meeting, and they talk about people that they're trying to cultivate. They have a little
Mhm.
hit list where at least one person has someone that they're supposed to be in communication with, and I
Yeah.
think that's where you see the success. So I think it all boils down to what Emily said, it's communication. Final answer.
Good
Final
summary.
answer. Okay, Jamie, what's our random question of the day?
I thought you were gonna ask it. Well, today it's what's our favorite thing on our desk? Go
Okay,
ahead, Kelly.
who's going to go for, okay, show and tell time. The Dallas CFMA.
Beautiful.
It's for the awards banquet for their tabletops. These are so fun. Their theme is Hollywood meets the Heartland. So
So
these are
cute.
really, we made these for the chapter and they have the sponsor. Thank you, Frost, for being this amazing sponsor. That's their plug in for this
I
podcast.
love
Okay.
that.
Jamie, what you got?
Well, it's also 3D printed, but it's not work related. It is my brand new pickleless cage.
That
Look at
is
this.
hilarious.
This is brought to you and to me, really, by our amazing coworker, Dawn, who's been featured on the podcast.
She
I
has.
asked her for this and she
Go
delivered.
Dawn. That is hilarious.
It's the
Things our team does for fun on the side.
You know what? And then we have a real pickle.
Oh, hi, Pickles. How
I built that
cute.
up.
Pickles makes her debut on the podcast. Okay, Emily, what's yours?
Okay, mine is going to be my heated mouse pad. Can you see it?
Whoa.
The bougiest find of
I
all of our.
bought it like 5 years ago and I'll never look back. I use it in the winter every morning. It's so nice. Keeps your left hand is always cold if you're right-handed, but it's my favorite.
Do you plug it into your computer? Where do you plug it in? Or is it
Yeah,
back?
it's a USB, so it's just plugged in.
That's
Well,
amazing.
what do you do with your left hand then?
It's just always cold.
That's
I
not gonna
know.
fly.
I know.
Hey, Christmas gift for Emily, hand warmer for her
Hand
left
warmers
hand.
only for one hand.
One
Just
hand
the left
warmer.
hand.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining us for episode 2 of Team Talk Tuesday. We hope you found this beneficial. Once again, ask us questions. We love having viewers and we love answering questions. So thanks for joining us and we'll see you soon.
Bye.